This video will show you how to create and save normalized yield layers in FSAIS. If a field has multiple years of yield data, we can use them to show trends within the field that highlight the higher and lower producing areas. Once those yield layers have been identified, we can assign products and rates to each of them as needed. So to get started, I'll log into the FSAIS dashboard, which can be found at dashboard.greenplan.com. From there, I'll open up the Field Manager tab, and I'll use the grower farm field tree to browse to the field I'll be working with. Now I'll click the Data tab at the top of the screen and then the Yield Analysis tab below it. To load a field into the Yield Analysis tool, just drag it from the tree and drop it into the top portion of the setup page. In the Analysis Configuration area, I'll choose Yield Normalization as the type, and a dialog box will automatically pop up prompting me to choose which yield layers to use for the normalization and how many different zones to create from them. You can also access this screen by clicking the Configure Analysis button. If 3 zones are selected, your normalized yield map will have the zones below average, average, and above average. For added detail, you can choose to have 5 zones that result in much below, below, average, above, and much above the average yield of all data selected. You can choose to include only specific crop types and years, or you can choose all crop types and all years for yield normalization. When finished, click the Save Config button. You can review the settings in the Config Summary area. When ready, click the Analyze Data button at the bottom of the screen. This will give you an on-screen view of the normalized yield layer, and depending on the number of yield layers used to make the normalized yield layer, the processing time may vary slightly. Now we can see the map of the normalized yield. This map is showing us the zones in the field that historically produce higher or lower yields than the overall average. From here, we can choose to create a PDF report of this data or save the normalized yield as a layer into the grower farm field tree for later use. When you click Save Normalized Yield, you get the opportunity to rename the layer. By default, the name will be the years of data used followed by the number of zones used. But if you're experimenting with multiple scenarios, you can rename it so that it's easier to identify later. Once this layer has been saved to the tree, we can load it to assign products and rates for an application, or we can use it as a factor in the variable RX seeding tool for a seeding recommendation.